What if I told you the biggest plot twist in Sister Wives history isn't on camera yet? What if I told you that the future of Coyote Pass, the family legacy, and even Cody Brown's last grip on control might all hinge on one unexpected man? And what if I told you that this man just might be the one to deliver the justice the Brown women have waited decades for? Buckle up, because this story changes everything. Christine Brown spent years living under the shadow of a man who insisted he was the leader, but acted more like a dictator. And when she finally walked away from Cody Brown, she believed she was leaving behind the emotional turmoil and the constant power struggles. But she never imagined that her new life with David Woolley would not only bring her peace and joy, but also open the door to a plan so bold and so calculated that it could shift the balance of power within the Brown family forever. Because what started as a clean break has evolved into a quiet storm approaching Coyote Pass, and the man at the center of that storm is David, who has become not just Christine's husband, but her shield, her protector, and potentially the architect of the most dramatic financial takeover the family has ever seen. The core of this unfolding theory is rooted in the injustice that Christine experienced when she left Flagstaff, because while the world watched her reclaim her independence, they did not see the deeper cuts, the financial wounds, and the sacrifices she made to escape Cody, who had used money as a weapon for decades. And while he presented himself as the patriarch who provided for everyone, the truth behind the scenes tells a much darker story. Christine poured her money into the family pot for years, money from the show, money from her Las Vegas home, money from her side hustles, money she assumed was being invested in her future and her children's future. But every dollar disappeared into Cody and Robin's control, and the biggest investment of all, the land at Coyote Pass, was supposed to be her legacy, yet she walked away from it with nothing. When Christine left, the narrative made it seem like she willingly traded her share of Coyote Pass to keep her house proceeds. But if you follow the paperwork and the math, she essentially signed away a massive piece of valuable land for a symbolic dollar and a promise she could not trust anymore. Cody got the land, Robin got the land, but Christine lost the one tangible investment she had been building toward for years, and she did it because she was desperate to escape the emotional chaos that Cody had trapped her in. But emotional escape does not erase financial betrayal. Enter David Woolley, a man who understands value, money, investments, and the cost of manipulation. David did not build his life on empty promises. He built it on skill, experience, and decades of navigating the construction and real estate landscape. And, unlike Cody, David knows how to read financial documents, how to evaluate assets, and how to spot a money pit from a mile away. So, when he married Christine, he did not just gain a wife, he gained a deep understanding of how severely she was taken advantage of financially. The theory circulating among fans and insiders suggests that David has quietly begun analyzing the state of the Brown family finances, and what he discovered is exactly what many long suspected. Cody and Robin are land-rich but cash-poor. Their lifestyle is built on unstable foundations, debt refinances, irregular payments, and relying on show income that has been shrinking season after season. And the land at Coyote Pass has been more of a burden than a blessing for them, because it is tied to loans, taxes, and obligations they can barely maintain. Meanwhile, David stands on the opposite side of the financial spectrum. He can afford to act strategically, and he can afford to be patient, and that is where the concept of distressed debt comes in. The idea that David could approach the lenders who hold the debt on Coyote Pass and offer to buy that debt outright is not only plausible, it is brilliant. It is the kind of move a seasoned businessman would make, especially if he sees it as an opportunity to correct a wrong done to the woman he loves. If David becomes the holder of the debt, Cody and Robin would not owe money to a bank anymore. They would owe money to the very man Cody has openly despised on camera, the man who replaced him, the man who loves Christine with a level of devotion Cody never offered her. And the psychological impact alone would send Cody spiraling, because for all his bravado, Cody cannot manipulate numbers, he cannot charm a loan agreement, and he cannot talk his way out of a debt controlled by someone who actually understands leverage and strategy. The next phase of the theory paints a vivid timeline where David, once holding the debt, begins the legal squeeze by demanding payment in full, a completely legal and standard move if the loan terms allow it, and if default signs appear. And given Cody and Robin's history with finances, default is not a far-fetched possibility. So imagine Cody receiving an official notice from David's lawyers in a sleek envelope, demanding full repayment within a fixed time frame. And imagine Cody scrambling, panicking, selling possessions, and begging for extensions as he realizes that all his bluster means nothing in the face of real financial authority. This is where the idea of justice starts to evolve into poetic symmetry, because Cody has spent years Part of the theory, the final offer, the moment when David allegedly steps in with a deal that would change everything. He offers Cody and Robin a settlement, one that allows them to keep their mansion and part of the property while giving up only two very specific parcels, the original Christine lot and the lot assigned to Janelle. This strategic move accomplishes multiple victories at once. It returns to Christine the land she sacrificed during her escape. It gives Janelle the opportunity to finally build the home Cody prevented her from building. And it dismantles the last remaining illusion Cody holds about his role as leader, provider, and patriarch. Because if another man is providing for the very women Cody neglected, the final blow to his pride becomes unavoidable. The emotional symbolism of Christine reclaiming her lot cannot be overstated. The land with the best view, the best access, the best build potential would no longer belong to the man who insisted she did not deserve anything better. Instead, it would belong to her through a husband who respects her deeply. And Janelle, receiving her lot free and clear, would expose Cody as the reason she struggled for years to build her dream casita. It would show that the barriers were never legal, never financial, never logistical. They were always Cody himself. And David, stepping in to solve in months what Cody stalled for years, would solidify him as a hero in the eyes of the children who have long felt abandoned and dismissed by their father. This leads directly into the family civil war dynamic, the moment where alliances crystallize and the emotional fractures deepen. Christine's kids already feel disconnected from Cody, and if David secures the land, they will see him as the man who protected their mother's future. Janelle's kids, who carry heartbreak and anger toward Cody, will see David as the stabilizing presence they never had. And Cody and Robin's children will retreat into a defensive mindset, convinced that everyone is against them, widening the divide and creating an irreversible split that will define the next generation of the Brown family. What makes this theory so powerful is that it is not built on fantasy, it is built on real-world strategy, real financial mechanisms, and real emotional consequences, the kind that naturally arise when decades of manipulation finally hit a wall made of concrete logic and business acumen. And as the pieces move, the question becomes not whether David could make this happen, but whether he already has. Whether the silence from Cody is not peace, but panic. Whether the confidence from Christine is not coincidence, but knowledge. Whether the unfolding tension is not random, but the first tremor of a seismic shift. If true, this is not just revenge, it is restoration, it is a reclamation of dignity, and it is the rewriting of the Brown family legacy by someone who never needed the spotlight, but understands exactly how to reshape a broken story into a victorious one for the woman he loves. As the dust continues to settle across the sprawling landscape of Coyote Pass, the truth becomes harder for Cody to outrun because each passing day reveals a shift in power that no one in the Brown family could have predicted, and certainly not the man who once believed he could control everything through charm, persuasion, and a rotating schedule of affection that kept the household in constant motion without ever giving anyone a true sense of stability or clarity. Instead of a unified legacy, he now faces the reality that the family he once led has evolved into several independent units, each moving according to their own healing process, their own priorities, and their own sense of justice. And the most unexpected development of all is the rising presence of David Woolley, not through force or conflict, but through quiet assurance, thoughtful planning, and a level of emotional intelligence that highlights exactly what the Brown household had been missing all those years. Because while Cody continues to insist that he was the visionary, that he was the architect of the family's future, that he was the one who sacrificed the most, the truth is that the women were often the ones working behind the scenes to keep that vision alive. And now that they are free from the weight of his demands, their new relationships, their new homes, and their new independence are exposing the illusion that held the family together for so long. David steps into the picture not as a replacement for Cody, but as a reminder of what genuine partnership looks like. And Christine finds herself experiencing a type of love and security that she had only dreamed of during her years in the plural marriage. While Cody rants on camera about loyalty and betrayal and spiritual covenants, Christine and David build a life rooted in mutual respect, peace, collaboration, and joy, values that contrast so sharply with the chaos Christine once lived through that even casual viewers can feel the shift in energy whenever David enters the frame. His calm presence, his willingness to listen, his steady confidence all become symbolic of the future Christine fought so hard to create for herself and her children. Compared to this, Cody's frustrations about losing control over the narrative sound less like leadership and more like the unraveling of a man who no longer recognizes the empire he once ruled. His fear begins to intensify, particularly around the land on Coyote Pass, because that land represents everything Cody thought he could use to maintain influence over his wives: the promise of future homes, the fantasy of unity, the unfinished dream that kept everyone hanging on year after year. Yet now the possibility that the land could slip through her potential involvement of David in the broader family situation acts like a catalyst that accelerates Cody's unraveling, because deep down, he knows he cannot compete with the version of himself he pretended to be for so long. And Robin struggles in her own way, seeing the shift unfolding in real time as the security she believes she found begins to show cracks. She watches Cody's paranoia grow more intense, his resentment toward his ex-wives deepen, and his frustration with the situation mount, until even she cannot find ways to calm him the way she once did, without ultimately feeding into the cycle of blame and disappointment. Cody begins losing the one thing he clung to most: control. Control over the narrative, control over the land, control over his wives' emotions, and control over the future he envisioned for himself. But what he does not realize is that by trying to cling to control, he is actually accelerating its collapse. And while he rages against the so-called disrespect, rejection, and betrayal he sees from his family, they quietly continue building new lives that do not revolve around him or his anger. As fans watch this story unfold, the possibility of David stepping into the legal or emotional landscape of Coyote Pass becomes more than just speculation. It becomes a metaphor for the karmic balance finally being restored. The land that once symbolized Cody's hold over his family now symbolizes the power they have taken back in their independence and healing. And if the ultimate twist in this story ends up being that David helps secure justice for Christine, then it marks the final turning point in a journey of liberation that fans have waited decades to see. Because in the end, this is not just a story about land or family drama. It was a story about power, healing, and the rise of people who finally chose themselves. And whether the final twist comes from David or destiny, one truth is undeniable: the Brown family has stepped into a new era where freedom thrives and Cody's control fades. So stay tuned, because the most shocking chapter may still be ahead.